Hi, I'm Chinese, and welcome to this segment of Ty's Healthy Eating and Living Tips. I'm going to show you how to prepare what I've named as Ty's tuna cakes. I've chosen tuna cakes because it's simple, it's easy, it's light, and it's protein packed. Very healthy. We have several ingredients that are included, very simple, minor ingredients. We have celery, we have onion, and I've chosen red onion simply because I think it's a little sweeter. It's not as bold as a white onion would be. But of course, you choose whatever you like, whatever your preference may be. Old Bay seasoning. I use just simple old plain old breadcrumbs. It's very easy. Of course, if you prefer to make your own breadcrumbs, totally acceptable. But for someone who's always on the go, I choose these. 1 egg for every can of tuna that you use is sufficient. And this is just a regular can of 6-ounce tuna. And I prefer chunk light, always in spring water, never in oil because it's just more healthy in water. Now, after I've already opened and drained thoroughly my tuna. After the tuna has been drained thoroughly, I empty it into my bowl. Again, you can choose to use how many cans of tuna you like, depending on how many patties you're trying to make. I'm choosing 1 can for this demonstration today. That way it'll yield me about 2 nice-sized patties. Okay. After I've put my tuna in the can, I then put my breadcrumbs. It's going to be about 1/4 cup of breadcrumbs. I then add. And again, this could be to taste. If it's really dry, you might use a little bit less of, so say if you use albacore, it's going to be much drier than this, so you probably would use a little bit less of the breadcrumb. If it's a little moist, you might be able to use a little bit more. But I don't use a lot of breadcrumbs simply because I try to keep the carbohydrate count down, especially when I'm watching my carbs in the summertime, which I always do. All right, now the breadcrumbs have been added. Now it's time for the celery and onion. Okay, I'm going to cut up a bit of the celery. And it's in terms of how much celery to use, it's totally up to you. Again, it's about preference. However, I use about 1/4 cup again for every can of tuna used. Because I don't like chunky bits in my cakes, I cut mine rather small. After I'm finished cutting up the celery in my desired size chunks, then I move on to my onion. Again, just as the celery, the sizes of the chunks are totally up to you. Again, I don't like big chunks, so I tend to slice mine kind of thin. Okay. All right, then I just layer all that and begin my slicing. Of course, this isn't slicing as easily as what it would if you weren't watching me today, but typically they slice much easier than that. Okay, now that I have it to my desired size, take and add that to my bowl. All right, now that that's done, I can now begin to add my onion and my celery. Like I said, you only need about 1/4 cup, depending on taste, how chunky and how crunchy you like your cakes. So I take that. I like about 1/4 cup. And I like it evenly. Okay. Then I add that. If you like it a little spicier, a few more onions won't hurt. Okay. Mix this up a little bit just to get it going. Now, the next ingredient is the Old Bay. With the Old Bay, you've got to be a little careful simply because of the sodium content. I like to have flavor, but I don't want to overwhelm it with the salt. So that's really to taste. I really don't have a measurement for that. If you have high blood pressure issues, if you have a low tolerance for salt, then I'd really recommend using an easy hand with that and tasting as you go. Now that we've mixed that and gotten that nice and mixed, we're now going to add the Old Bay. Old Bay, you need to just be careful with the Old Bay because Old Bay, as you know, it's very strong in taste, also very salty, so you can overuse this. So use it sparingly, use it to taste. I don't really have a measurement. I just sprinkle, taste, sprinkle, taste. I can kind of do it by sight now, so I know what I'm doing. If you have salt intolerance, I'd say either leave this step out or just be very easy with the shaker, okay? I must say the Old Bay does add a lot of great flavor to the tuna cakes. Okay, all right, after you finish adding the Old Bay, again I mix it Okay. And before I add my egg white, I'm just going to taste it just to be sure that it has the right amount that I like. A little bit more. And again, remember I said this is, of course, based on your own personal taste buds. Okay? But it is good. Okay. Now that we have that in, now the final ingredient, and this is what's going to hold it together when you make your patties, the egg. Okay? Alrighty. I'm going to crack my egg. And I'm going to use the whole egg. You can use just an egg white if you'd like, if you don't want the additional fat, which one egg is going to yield you probably another 2 grams of fat. Not significant, but if it's of real importance to you, just use the egg white. Okay. Begin to mix this. Like I said, 1 egg white is sufficient for 1 can of tuna. Look at that, nice and moist. Remember, I said in the beginning I chose this recipe because of the health content of it. You see, we did not use any mayonnaise, so we didn't have all that additional fat and saturated fat. We used another high protein source, the egg, to hold it together. Now, depending on the size patties you'd like, and again, this is all about preference. I'm going to take your hands, and I usually fill my hand with a good amount of the tuna. And I just make round balls just as you would if you were making any other kind of patty, any burger patty or salmon patty or crab cake. Now, I use big patties. And I like mine big and I like them kind of flat. It just cooks better. So you make them nice and round. And I usually get anywhere from 2 to 3 patties of about this size in 1 can of tuna. That's a nice, smooth patty. Let's see. Looks like I'm going to get 2 and a small one out of this one. Okay. Again, you just make your little balls and see how well it's holding itself together. The 1 egg was sufficient. It's amazing what an egg white can do. You didn't need to add a bunch of mayonnaise to make this. And again, flatten it. We had 2 really good sized patties and 1 smaller patty. So 1 can of tuna yields quite a bit. Okay. So now that we have that, now we're going to wash our hands and now we're going to cook. Now that my hands have been cleaned, now you can cook these tuna cakes 2 different ways. Well, you can grill it, and when you're indoors, you can put it in the Foreman grill, roasts beautifully, you get the beautiful lines. But since my Foreman grill is out of commission, I'm just going to cook it in a pan using a bit of olive oil. And if you should use your Foreman grill, make sure you spray with olive oil to keep it from sticking. There's no fat in the tuna cakes. So if you don't use some type of oil, you're going to end up sticking. It's going to fall totally apart. Okay? Unlike with mayonnaise where the oil is going to drain out and it gives a natural grease, it won't happen. I'm going to go ahead. I'm now going to spray my pan lightly with a little olive oil. And I'm going to turn my burner on to a medium high. I use olive oil because it's light, it's healthy, it's a good oil, and it's going to keep your tuna patty from sticking. Okay? And I just spray it lightly just to keep it, we're not frying it, it's just enough to keep it from sticking. So we don't need excess oil in the pan. Now that our pan is ready, it's very heated, I'm now going to add the cakes to the pan. Be careful so they don't come apart as you're picking them up. They're going to cook about 2.5 to 3 minutes on each side. Because they're going to be slightly brown. Now, if they were on the Foreman grill, they would have nice lines across. But again, they're in the pan, so you're just going to have brown full coverage. So about 2.5 to 3 minutes. The tuna cooks very fast. Okay. So now, while we're waiting for the tuna, we're now going to go ahead and do the other portion of the meal, which is the salad. Now, for convenience, as I'm always speaking about, we're going to use pre-made salad that I made. I don't buy salads in the bag because I'm not sure if they've been washed, and it's not as fresh when you buy them pre-made salad bags. So I buy the heads of lettuce, I buy whatever fixings I like in it. And this time I chose cucumbers and yellow peppers. And I'll do red peppers, orange peppers, love all of that. But this time I just have yellow peppers and cucumbers. But I cut everything up, wash it, and then put it in my own little Ziploc bag. And I make sure that when I do put it in, I make sure all the air is out to keep it airtight, keeps the seal, and it keeps it fresher longer. Saves your money, and it lasts longer. Okay, so we're going to take the bag that I have of this already washed and cut up salad. I am going to fill out the plate. Also, to keep things quick and easy and simple. Now, I love fruit on my salad. Summertime, you have tons of different fruit that's in season. It gives a sweet flavor to it. It really changes the flavor of salad. It's not the typical, it's just not a plain salad. And you can do that in the summertime. So I always wash my fruit ahead of time. That way I can just toss it on, okay? So get my salad bag, pull out my salad fixings. Now again, you can put whatever you want in your salad. If you want to add some tomato, add some fresh onion, add radishes. You can do whatever you want in your salad, but this is how I like mine. I love blackberries. And again, these are already washed. Please make sure you wash all of your fruits and vegetables before you put them on your plate. In addition to my blackberries, I also like my blueberries. Everything is packed with vitamins, and as we know, blueberries are famous for their antioxidants. Okay, I throw quite a few of those on there. And sometimes I'll cut up an apple or a pear just for different flavoring, but today this is what I've chosen. So let's go on back over here before we burn the cakes, and let's go ahead and flip them. Ah, look at that, beautiful. Came out just perfect. As you can see, the time that it took on the first side of the tuna cakes for the 2.5 to 3 minutes, I already had the pre-washed and cut salad bag, so I just went to the refrigerator, pulled it out, put it on the plate. By the time I was done doing that and adding my fruit, just come back over, flip the tuna cakes, and another 1.5 minutes, and they'll be ready. You don't want to overcook them because you don't want them to dry out. Tuna cooks very fast. There was very little water in it. Total of 10 minutes with prep time, making the patties, and cooking. See if that's a little done on the side. About 10 seconds more, I'd say. Ah, perfect. Turn off the heat. And we're just going to go ahead and transfer 2 of these patties to our dinner plate. Right on the side there. And we have a wonderful protein-packed meal here. We have our tuna cakes, we have our salad with our fruit on it for extra vitamins and minerals. So as you can see, we have a meal full of protein and vegetables here. You have the hot cakes and you have the cold salad. It makes for a nice complement with one another. And the fruit adds for a nice sweet flavor. And you can also add any type of dressing that you like to your choice. I would prefer something that's low calorie. A vinaigrette would be a great complement to this meal. If you also chose, you don't have to have salad. You could have some hot vegetables or cold vegetables. Also, what I do with this sometimes is have broccoli, cauliflower mix and add a little bit of mustard to the tuna cakes. Great. Thank you for joining me in preparing Ty's tuna cakes in this segment of Ty's Healthy Eating and Living Tips. I hope you've enjoyed it, and remember, we don't live to eat, we eat to live. So eat healthy, be healthy.